and that people are probably a bit anxious to get things over with, but I hope you will be energetic and engaged, and we have this excellent panel here today. So I heard from my colleague Tom Friedman the other day that people now live something like 51%, I don't know how they measure this, but 51% of their lives online. We're talking Facebook, WeChat, Instagram, Snapchat, or TikTok, and of course you can buy almost anything you want online. But we also heard this morning from Michael Evans this very interesting statistic from Alibaba that only 20% of the retail market is online. So that's 80% of people are still shopping offline. And my colleague Raymond Zhong wrote this morning in the New York Times about 11/11 sales at Alibaba that he had met a 24-year-old engineer who said, I'm not so into Singles Day. It doesn't hold much appeal for me. I'm really more interested in offline experiences. So that's a little bit what we're here to talk about today is the experience as opposed to merely just the acquisition of product and how important that is to the luxury buyer. So can we start with you, Adrian? Are we okay?
Yes.
So I know you spend a lot of time thinking about what the average 24-year-old wants and how they want to buy and what the experience they're looking for. And you have kind of developed this very interesting concept of putting in more. It's not just a shopping experience, but it's an art experience, a culinary experience. You can take a cooking class. Can you just tell us a little bit more about your philosophy, particularly around the art? Why do you think it's so important to have that at the malls? Like, why is that going to enhance a shopping experience?
Because I think for the future, I think a lot of millennials, especially Greater Bay or Greater China millennials, which accounts for 566 million of millennials actually in China. And it accounts for 40% of the population, and in 2 or 3 years, it's probably 50% of the consumption sales of China. So what we need to do is really dissect these millennials in order to understand what they need. There are 3 types of millennials. One is what we call the older millennials that are born after post-80s, born after 80s. And then there's the Gen Z millennials, which is born after 95. And then lately, there's the new types of millennials, what we call the Alpha Gen.
The Alpha Gen.
Alpha Gen.
All right.
The Alpha Gen is actually born after 2010. And you may say, oh, that's very young. But we started to need to explore and investigate on this behavior as well. The older millennials, which is born after 80s, especially in Greater China, they actually crave for culture and art, because they don't exist that much. They're not able to access the art and culture in Greater China. And art and culture is actually, creativity is a muse. It's something that is innate. It's something that you want to create. You want to be an artisan, so you want to be a creator. And what we would need to do is, through the experience, we want to excavate that types of creativity amongst these millennials in China in order to have resonance with my brand K11, or with my complex, with my projects that are in Greater China.
So what does that look like? What does it mean to excavate their creativity?
So for example, we built an entire museum. 10 years ago, I built a museum inside the retail space for people to access into art. We incubate contemporary Chinese art, we incubate contemporary Chinese designers, and we also bridge them with museum shows and exhibitions overseas. And we also bring these content, these IPs, into this experiential space for them to access. So this is a new social innovation model that happened 10 years ago. And at that time, the millennials love it. Because they can shop, they can dine, they can have fun, but then they can access to art, and they can create. They have workshops. We have like hundreds of what we call K11 cultural workshops for you to do arts and craft.
And you have like these urban farms.
And then we also have
Maybe we could see a picture. I think we have. Of these.
And then we have an urban farm. Can I see the picture?
Right here.
So we basically create this farm, an urban farm inside the retail, and people can actually farm. They can grow their herbs. Customers can grow herbs. They can collect herbs. It's farm to table, and you can bring back home, and you can cook, and you do your home cooking.
So this sounds amazing, and like any hipster would love this. But I'm just wondering, how does this translate into sales? Or even the art, for example, when people are coming. So you get all this traffic coming through because this is the cool event space, but does that actually translate into sales in the malls?
So traffic went up immediately. Once we opened, the next year, our traffic grew 100%. Our sales grew 100%. Why? Very simple. Traffic went up. And then conversion rate also went up because people stay longer.
I see.
Third, when people stay longer, you have much more time to engage with them. You have much more time to build the community. Fourth, it's about fan base. These days, experience about we call a clan base. You need to build a clan. You need to build a CRM. It's not about just traffic that just pass by your complex or your project. It's about building that community. And this is a way for you to build sustainability, to propagate your vision and propagate your DNA as well. Before, it was just basically increasing GFA, increasing rent. But these days, we're actually grooming the audience. And through grooming the audience, you're actually able to access to what the behavior is. And then you can bring them, you can tag them, and you can bring online, you can do big data, you can do CRM. So, or else you don't understand.
I'm going to ask Scott a little bit about this, because this sounds resonant to what value retail does as well, right? That you are trying to create a community of people who really want to continue to come to your spaces. Can you talk a little bit about these bathrooms that I think sound really, really insane and off the charts? Maybe we could show some pictures of those as well. Why did you want to make bathrooms that look like this in your outlet malls? And what are people doing in them? We hear that they're actually throwing parties. And I think we have a picture of one of those too.
So the war is over. Alibaba won. And the future of retail distribution is digital. But the future of brand definition and brand equity is physical. And we very much embrace the physical environment, and our goal is to curate and inspire the experiences that a long-haul traveler, whether she lives across the road or halfway around the world, would select for herself and ideally her sister and her mother, but if necessary, her husband and her children. And the bathrooms in this example are from Shanghai Village, which is located on the lake of the Shanghai Disney development. And each one is comprised of thousands of tiles, and each is in the artistic style of a specific artist. And the idea is, in a similar, analogous sense, to transport culture and transport the spirit of creativity into the day-to-day. And in fact, this has arrived. This moment has arrived. The challenge is that the hardware that exists in most existing locations is not suitable for cultural experience in the...
What do you mean, the hardware?
So the architecture, the location, a multi-story mall is defined by escalators and planted trees and air conditioning. So for example, we are always in an open-air, pedestrianized environment, as opposed to an enclosed environment, which of course means we're subject to the weather. But what we like to say is, on a day with weather that's not perfect, everyone's in the stores where they have air conditioning, in the boutiques shopping, and on a beautiful, magnificent day, people will come to us because it's an extra experiential quality. So the hardware is designed to provide flexibility. We were speaking just before how in our villages, we don't actually sign a contract that's a lease. We don't use leases. We use the same form as a department store license that would exist at Harrods or Selfridges, where we charge a royalty, not a rent, and we can redesign and reposition the merchandise mix on a daily basis. In fact, this past year, 25% of our brands in our villages, on average, became bigger, smaller, or different.
So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Adrian then. What's the sort of return on investment? I mean, that sounds like a lot of work, turning over 25% of your locations and shrinking and expanding and moving things around, and then also the sort of immense investment that you're putting in kind of the physical space. Does that, I'm sure it does increase traffic because people like the novelty, but does it in fact increase sales?
Well, I think your word novelty is really important, because we're not in the novelty business. We're in the business of serving the luxury and fashion brands. And our primary mission is to help them acquire full-price customers. So if you visit us, the bulk of our visitors in Western Europe come from abroad, outside of the EU. And what we are working to achieve with the brands is that when they leave and go home, they go home to that full-price boutique in their home city as a valued VIP customer. The return is high in that we are charging the highest, we are achieving the highest sales densities, sales per square foot in the world for our portfolio of shopping locations. And on average for the portfolio, and then Bicester Village outside of London this year will average about $4,500 a square foot, which is, again, as far as anything is reported, significantly higher than what is achieved in shopping centers. So it's specialized, it's very focused, it's complex and expensive. I would say the biggest expense is a human cost, because the brands are fighting so hard on so many fronts, and here we are interfering with their efficiency in order to hopefully inspire and assist them to do something remarkable, which will acquire them those full price consumers. But their systems historically come out of warehousing, finance, and logistics, not taking the embrace that, for example, today Gucci will do. Alessandro Michele is designing their stores because any store they have anywhere in the world, in our village, in Shanghai Village or Suzhou Village, at the airport, on the best shopping streets of the world, is a flagship for the brand. And so they've become very pure about it. They never mark down in their flagships, as it were, in the full price locations. But any physical contact with the brand is designed to complement the digital distribution.
So speaking of digital distribution, let's go to Federica Marchione. You run the largest platform for luxury retail in China, Cico. And so I wonder if you could talk about, so on the surface, it doesn't sound like you're part of this sort of experiential discussion, but I think there are a lot of things that you do both on and offline to enhance the experience. Maybe you could talk first of all online. I mean, the sort of my kind of outside observer response to your platform is, well, what can we get from your platform that we can't get from Alibaba, Amazon? How do you distinguish yourself and make yourself, you know, a true luxury destination?
What a great question. Thank you very much. Because it's an opportunity for me to talk about Cico. Probably some of you do not know who we are and what we do, because we are Chinese and our app is in Chinese. And so if you don't know the language, maybe it can be a barrier, but pictures helps a lot. So I wish that
maybe we could see some pictures of what your online
this is the new image that we are creating for our PC.com version, but of course we will use those pictures also into our app. And so we are saying, please come to our app to see the full range of product that we sell. We sell premium lifestyle products. So anything that makes our lives in more luxury way, not just product, but also services, and not just fashion, but also art, for example. And we also sell lessons for piloting and aircraft. So we are very creative. The difference with other platforms is, first of all, the price point. The average price point for our platform is $500. So very different from other platforms. And we were born to target the luxury consumers. We were born 10 years ago, so this year is 10 years anniversary, in 2008, with the goal to serve and to give access to Chinese consumers to the brands and to the product. We offer today 3,000 brands and over 300,000 SKUs.
And what's the most popular thing that's sold, items that are sold on your platform?
Watches, number one, and handbags.
Do you sell jewelry as well?
Yes, we sell, a lot of products and everything that you created. So far, when the company was created, was mainly getting the product from distributors and whoever they could get access in China from these products. But today, we're much more determined to get the product from the brands directly. This is one of the reasons why I joined the company. And we want to make sure that our consumer can find also the newest products at the full price. And we work very well with all the brands. But we do have also stores. which we call experiential centers.
Okay.
We don't call it stores, and actually I come and I have an experience from the offline as well.
But what's really the difference between an experiential center and a store?
Well, what we offer to our customer, we saw that first of all we are an online company, so we cannot compete with them, but we wanted to give a point of contact of our customers. So it's a way, first of all, to get a new customer acquisition, is a way to make sure that the people see that our products are real, because this is another topic in China about authentication. So what we do, we authenticate products. We do also maintenance and services.
And how do you authenticate? Like, what happens in these physical centers when people bring their products?
We have the largest one in China, actually, of authentication service in the warehouse. And we are recognized by the government, the press, the consumers as the most important authentication center, the largest one, where there are appraisers that are experts, and we hire them from all over the world.
I think we have a picture of the authentication center.
Well, actually, this picture, more than the authentication center, is the latest advertising campaign that I shot with the visual artist Chen Man, who is considered the Annie Leibovitz of China. And very, very grateful to work with this artist. And what we wanted to make sure is that people know us. This is another element that differentiates us from our platform, is that this company is known to be authentic. In our values and in our mission, we have some elements that say be novel in character, authentic in offer. And actually the authenticity is one of the attraction points that build trust, between a bond of trust between us and the consumers. So we authenticate the product from the warehouse, making sure that no counterfeiting is going out. We actually adapted. We were the first adapting the blockchain technology.
That we heard about earlier.
Yes.
Right.
So I think we're doing a lot to serve the consumer, and in the experiential centers, which we're going to also revisit, because the life of the consumer changed, the customer needs are changed compared to the moment when we created. So we need to reconceive them in a different way. So I just joined the company, and I'm doing a lot of work, including, you know, the picture that we saw before is the first, today actually is the first day where we opened the new .com from PC, and it's the first phase, using some English, introducing us into the world, because we were doing a lot of work in making sure our consumer trust, and we get a lot of relationship with the consumer. We know a lot about them in terms of data, how they shop, the behavior, and then we provide the right offer for them.
Right.
But I think we needed to do much more towards the brands, and so thanks to that, I joined the company.
Great.
Because of the new approach.
Adrian, speaking of sort of online experiences, I think you were also talking about starting a rental. I'm not sure if this is an online business, but a jewelry rental arm. And I wonder if you could talk about that.
One of our private equity venture arm invested in the rental platform in high-end fashion, and also in rental in jewelry as well. Because we're seeing that the millennials are the paradigm shift in retail. Of course, you talk about sharing economy, but sharing economy by not just sharing, but actually renting. Renting is going to be a big platform that we are looking at. And also, there's the new paradigm shift looking in co-creation.
What's that?
Meaning, instead of saying it's a UGC, a user-generated content, or a PGC content, it's actually co-created content.
But how does that work?
Which means
People
the
walk into
customer,
a store,
you go to the store, the customer and the tailor, the customer and the concierge service person or your service person will co-create together on something.
So it's not with a particular brand, but it's more a
It's
service
it's
that you will
yeah,
be
it's a
providing?
concept. Yeah, it's a service that we're providing as well. Another paradigm shift we're looking at is building an ecosystem around the customer. So the experience is not purely just on the retail product itself, but also on the needs of the well-being of the customer. For example, offering healthcare services, maybe educational services, to curate a customer journey that's much more larger.
Would this be at a mall, or where would
It can
this
be anywhere. It can be in a shop, because in my jewelry shop, it can be in my K11 office or retail complex. It can be in my K11 service apartment, luxury service apartments. It's a concept that we're actually looking into that. And lastly, I would like to emphasize is the accumulation of knowledge. The importance of experience is fleeting. Experience fleets. It's fleeting. It's transient. It's stimulating your five senses. But the cumulative part of experience, accumulating experience, becomes a knowledge capital. And building that knowledge capital is building CRM. It's building some types of emotional attachment to the brand. So for example, we have consecutively experience that are very aligned.
And this is attachment to K11 brand?
K11 or my jewelry brand or anything with my retail platform. And it's very important, this concept of knowledge capital, because customers in Greater China, especially millennials, they want to learn. They want to discover, they're curious, and they want to learn. And once they learn, they want to build a knowledge capital base. And if you can interact and keeps on adding this knowledge capital base through experiences, they will be much attached to your brand than any others.
And are you finding the same thing, Scott, that you're getting, that part of what you're trying to do is get a lot of repeat customers into the locations? And has there been, given that you have a lot of experience across the globe, how would you compare the experiences that you've had in Asia with experiences with your malls in Europe in terms of what you're looking for? Is it sort of a similar idea of this creating loyalty and community?
Well, I do think the notion of tribes is very relevant, and Adrian and I were on a panel together about 8 years ago, and once again we're highly aligned. I think you have a picture of what one of our villages looks like, which could be interesting, because my comment is actually...
Which one? Which village?
Shanghai Village is fine.
Okay,
sure.
let's put Shanghai Village up.
But we're trying to create physical environments which are... So that's another project we built. That's Turadeo Drive in Beverly Hills. And the roots of what we're doing in China are there. This is a bit larger because it's China. But the Hi-Pi, Art Deco style, my goal is that a guest comes once a year. So we're maybe once in a lifetime.
I see.
If she's coming from China to Paris, where we have a project at Disney Paris. So we're thinking less the repeat loyalty and more the network loyalty, like in Adrian's hotel business, Rosewood. That would be the same sort of idea, where we have a relationship with the customer whom we would call the guest. For us, she's a guest. For the brand, she was the customer. And so we would love really high quality guests coming once, spending a full day, spending a lot of money on that visit, because it's ceremonial and emotional. As Adrian said, the five senses, we want those to be engaged and enlivened. And what we send home with her is not physical objects. Of course, she's bought, so she's taking things with her. We send home memories. So each of those objects represents as a gift or as a purchase for herself.
And that's true both in Asia and Europe, or is that unique to Shanghai, or?
It is, the principle is consistent in anything we do, but in China we are seeing ourselves more as national tourism destinations with some international visitation. In Western Europe, we are highly international. Anywhere from 60 to 70% of our visitors to London, for example, our project outside of London, are not from within the EU. They don't have an EU passport. They're coming from across the world. And as we now look at going into North America, where the brands have crashed, brand equity, and the department stores have helped do that, now as they need to rebuild, for the first time, we think maybe our approach in the outlet category can support brand positioning for the full price with the same sort of logic, wholly about what we would call the traveling luxury consumer, Angela Aaron's description, that long haul, sophisticated traveler. So our goal is she might visit us more than once around the world during a year.
I see.
But a very specific visit.
So that's interesting. This is going to be my last question, and then I want to open up to you, to all of you. Frederica, does that resonate for you, that you want a customer that's going to come once a year and just spend, I know that you might have a little bit of news to announce about yesterday in terms of a little record that you set, I think.
Well, first of all, we want a customer that comes back and back and back, and so the focus is actually almost the opposite in that sense, because we are creating a bigger offer and making sure that we have more product and more reason for a customer to come back, what is called the thickness of the customer. And the more they spend and we become top of mind, the more they can come and continue shopping. So you want to give a great shopping experience through the whole phase, not just when they're surfing into the net to find the product that they want, but also to receive how they receive the product and the customer service. And I think that Seiko has done a great job in doing all of that through the entire process. So we would like to increase actually this repetition of the shopping, and we know that we can do that. We actually did that so far. Year over year, we grow that purchasing power because we were focusing on giving more services and creating loyalty programs. And so we created a club of customers that are spending more than $50,000 a year.
So how many people are in that club?
But yesterday, as you were mentioning about the Double 11, we had a great day as well, and we broke the record by selling one of the most expensive products. I'm not going to share which one, otherwise I will have the brand.
Can you tell us the price point at least?
But let's say it was in the range of $300,000 US. So really something that's
somebody
online,
bought a $300,000 item online.
Yes, yes.
All right.
So this is something that can probably, I don't know if it happened in the retail as well. And this is the power of the online, this is the power of China, and this is the power of being very focused on giving trust to the consumer that they can shop these expensive products and come back, hopefully, keep coming back. But we do have a lot of customers that are they just come from shopping the new wave of the wealthier Chinese consumer that maybe they shop for their birthday or some occasion, and they cannot afford to buy continuously luxury products.
All right, let's open it up to all of you. Right there.
Hi, this is a question for Adrian. He's considered Hong Kong's millennial whisperer because he's spent so much time understanding them. And today you mentioned a new young breed of millennial, the Alpha Gens. Tell us more about them and how afraid should we be of the Alpha Gens?
I don't think you should be afraid of Alpha Gen. I think Alpha Gen has a different types of behavior. So they're much more virtual. The idea of virtuality is a key word for Alpha Gen. They're much more, they rely much more on vocal recognition. So everything is on, you don't need to do anything, you just say it. The virtual world will be the next big thing that I think that we need to take note, because for the Alpha Gen, you will have your virtual self. You will have your virtual identity. And this virtual identity becomes like a pet that you have on.
So can we look forward to the virtual K11?
Do you have my photo for my virtual self?
Yeah, but let's keep going.
Okay, you can show. I have my
Go
virtual
ahead, put it
self. And this is exactly, we do vocal recognition, and this virtual self is going to be on the virtual world. You can shop, you can buy, you can experience, and you can do anything you want on the virtual world. And this is like my pet. And
That's
this is me. And you can use blockchain in order to connect it, so I can sell my virtual IP rights here and get royalty anywhere. Because virtual world is going to be the next big thing. You can build your virtual K11 shopping mall, virtual Rosewood hotels, virtual Chow Tai Fook jewelry stores, and then my virtual self will go and buy. And then it's exactly what you think about esports. When you do gaming, you have your virtual self, and you started to buy a lot of weapons. And then
right,
this
yes.
is exactly how it evolved, because when you do online gaming, you do esports, it's starting to evolve, and this virtual world becomes a big importance to the AlphaGen.
AlphaGen.
Yes.
I think we have time for just one more question. Right over here. Right there.
Hi, hello, I'm Kay. Question for Scott and also Adrian. Adrian, you mentioned a lot about CRM. In an offline world, how are you guys capturing data points about the customer behavior and their engagement? Alibaba does it, for example, in Hema. There's a lot of way that they're capturing that transaction and what they're buying, and also experiences. How is Value Retail and K11 doing?
All right, we're going to have to ask you to do it quite quickly because we're running out of time.
Okay, so basically what we do is offline, we have all the tagging points. So if touching points, anything any touch points, concierge services, you go to courses, you go to urban farming, you go to museum, you go to even shopping, we have our own POS system. We have our own cryptocurrency, so everything is tracked within the app. Everything is also, it's basically tracked facial recognition, vocal recognition, and will be all detected for us to know this single profile navigating in our place. So once we have that, we have DGS, data grinding system, and then we have the big data, and then we started to cross-sell and push through our, not APP in China, it's WeChat, in Hong Kong it's APP, and then we also have online. So online, we try to get the online traffic to direct back down to the offline as well. And online to omni-channel is very important too, but we focus on the offline very much. So that's
Nothing
our
goes
CRM system.
undetected.
Yes.
Scott?
Slightly different approach. We exist to serve the brands, so we're very much about reinforcing and supporting the way the brands acquire the data, just as they acquire the customer. If the women who shop with us are happy, then the brands are happy. If the brands are happy, then all works out well.
Women only, huh? All right, well, thank you so much, Adrian, Scott, and Frederica, and I'm going to hand it back to Vanessa.